Welcome back. In the last module, I gave you a lot of background information about why we need walking school buses in America. Now in Module 2, it's time to start preparing for your own walking school bus program. One of the things we've learned at PedNet is that the secret to sustainability is not to rush into implementing the program on day one. There are several stages to go through first if you want your program to be sustainable, and it's likely to take at least a year to plan and prepare for the launch of a successful formal program. I will start this module by giving you a summary of PedNet's experience with walking school bus programs. Then I will go on to describe 3 typical program models, making a critical distinction between a small, informal walking school bus program and a large formal one. The remainder of this module, and really the entire training, will focus on the formal walking school bus model. I will discuss operational components, roles and responsibilities of the program coordinator, and efficiencies of multiple school operations. PedNet Coalition was founded in 2000. We started organizing Walk to School Days in 2003 and launched our walking school bus program in 2005. Mostly we figured out what works and what doesn't by trial and error because there weren't many model programs at the time. As PedNet's program has grown from 4 routes and a total of 30 children in 2005 to 30 routes and more than 450 children today, we have learned from our mistakes, made numerous small adjustments, and a couple of wholesale reinventions. The program that now serves 463 children at 12 different elementary schools requires more than 100 adult volunteers every semester. With this training, we hope to share our successes, help you avoid the mistakes we made, and shorten the learning curve in launching a walking school bus program. There are 3 typical models for a walking school bus program. Model A is the small, informal, neighborhood-level program. Model B is the larger, more formal program serving an entire school, and Model C is a very large, highly formalized program serving the entire community or school district. While this is a slight oversimplification, it's a convenient classification that enables every program to choose which model it wants to follow and prepare appropriately. Whatever kind of program you ultimately envision, you should start small and allow your program time to grow. You will discover ways to streamline the work along the way. Over the years, PedNet's walking school bus program has progressed through each of these different models. A small, informal, neighborhood-level walking school bus program can be very successfully organized by a dedicated group of parents, or by one very motivated parent and a handful of willing volunteers. This is exactly how PedNet's program started in 2005. One parent hosted a get-together with neighborhood friends who had children at the same school. They didn't like the sedentary habits they saw their children slipping into and considered walking to school as a way for their kids to build more physical activity into their daily routines. After discussing the safety issues involved in the kids walking to school, they set up a rotation so that 1 or 2 adults would walk with all of the kids every day. When you have 5 to 10 families that know and trust each other, and they all make a strong commitment to the program, this model works very well. Because it's a small, well-connected group, it's easy to get it up and running relatively quickly. It's easy to maintain good communication between the families, and there's very little risk that anything will go wrong. It also doesn't cost anything. On the other hand, this model requires a high level of parent commitment and availability. It doesn't work well for single-parent or dual-income families or those with multiple jobs or shift work, and it's also unlikely to have a large-scale impact on traffic congestion or children's health because it only involves a few kids, but it's a great place to start. Occasionally, an informal neighborhood walking school bus program will encourage another group of parents at the same time to start a similar program in their neighborhood. However, the number of parents that are willing and able to manage a daily program like this is limited, and so larger programs typically require more formal processes and a certain amount of funding to be successful and sustainable. We can define the formal program as one where the program has centralized control, a uniform set of policies and procedures for things like weather cancellation and volunteer recruitment, and a registration system for the children. The hallmark of a formal program, centralized control, makes this type of walking school bus program easier for people to volunteer for. In the informal program, basically every parent has to handle the program basics, like communication and recruitment, which is a heavy undertaking. With the formal program, however, a leader, often called the walking school bus coordinator, is handling that role and volunteers are simply walking kids to school however many times per week they like. Another strength is that a formal program isn't so dependent upon parents and can therefore be opened up to additional children. By setting up daily walking school bus routes that pass through all of the neighborhoods within a mile of school, you can offer the program to every student who lives within walking distance. If you establish the option for families or school buses to drop off students at a couple of the staging posts, you can potentially open it up to children that normally come by car or school bus as well. This is the start of a strategy to reach a broad base of students and families that can have a real health and environmental impact. However, coordinating several walking school bus routes to ensure volunteers know where they need to be and when, and to take steps so that all children arrive safely to school, is a lot of work for an unpaid volunteer. There are many moving parts to keep track of: kids, parents, volunteers, weather issues, traffic issues, safety issues, and so on. And without a responsible and accountable program coordinator to manage it all, the program will likely fail. Therefore, at least a little funding is required to compensate someone for several hours of work per week, and to cover direct costs such as printing, prizes, and snacks. I will discuss budgets in more detail in Module 5. Finally, a formal walking school bus program at one school can generate interest at other schools, leading to a program that is fully inclusive of all children. These larger programs are generally coordinated by a community nonprofit, such as a pedestrian or bicycle advocacy group, a government agency, such as the police or public health department, or the school district itself. It's important to note that this model only applies to communities that have more than one elementary school. At a community-wide or school district-wide level, it makes sense to create efficiencies by using a standard registration form for participants at every school, a standard orientation for volunteers, a standard weather cancellation policy, and so on. The program can also be marketed to the entire community or school district and used as a forum to discuss and advance policy changes that can further encourage walking to school. Finally, of course, a program at multiple schools has the potential for large-scale impact in terms of increased physical activity for children and impacts on traffic congestion and air quality. However, it has been our experience that to organize daily walking school bus routes at several schools simultaneously, it requires a half-time to full-time staff position. It's also very beneficial to have part-time paid liaisons at each school, which of course means more funding. Since we recommend starting with one school, the remainder of this training will focus on the model of organizing a formal daily walking school bus program at a single school. When taking on a large project, it is often helpful to break it down into several smaller components, and there are 4 main components involved in planning and implementing a formal walking school bus program. The most important component is the leader of the program, the walking school bus coordinator. Another component is marketing. It's important to advertise the program and get lots of kids to sign up. Convincing parents to sign their kids up to walk to school on a more regular basis will take a lot of education and explanation. The final component is to recruit, train, and coordinate adult volunteer walking school bus leaders. They are the heart and soul of your program. If you do a good job with your volunteers, the program will have a solid foundation to build on. And finally, the fourth component is the careful planning of safe walking school bus routes. This is your most important task because safety should always be your top priority. Again, the main difference between an informal and formal walking school bus program is centralized control. This centralized control is required because of the size and complexity of the program. When a program reaches this size, where there are many routes manned by several volunteers who do not all know each other, that requires a lot of organization. If you think about a formal walking school bus program like a small business, then we need a CEO of the program. The CEO of a walking school bus program is usually called the walking school bus coordinator. The walking school bus program coordinator will recruit students and adult volunteers, coordinate multiple routes, and create safety rules, weather policies, a volunteer training, establish lines of communication, and manage a participant tracking system. This person must be organized, detail-oriented, and a good communicator, and ideally would receive a weekly stipend, which we will discuss in length during Module 5. It's important to develop a good marketing plan. There are numerous ways to market the program, utilizing school communication channels like a school newsletter, community resources, like a community-wide newsletter, and the media, like a local talk show, are just a few. Some are more effective than others. Some may be targeted at particular populations. Some are free, while others involve a charge. In addition to marketing the program, you will need to develop a registration form, which should include a liability waiver signed by a parent and a system for receiving and processing registrations. Your Walking School Bus volunteer leaders are the heart and soul of your program. If you do a good job of recruiting, training, and coordinating adult volunteers, the program will have a solid foundation to build on. PedNet's program currently relies primarily on college students to serve as volunteers, more than 100 of them every semester, and we have learned a lot of lessons about the most effective way to recruit them. At the same time, we are actively trying to diversify and recruit more parents, senior citizens, and other community members. We have developed other tools and techniques for this effort. You will need to define your volunteers' roles and responsibilities, decide whether to conduct criminal background checks, figure out which days of the week volunteers are available, develop and organize volunteer training sessions, and plan when and how to distribute route information to volunteers. PedNet has helped organizations create their own walking school bus programs across the United States, and we've learned that the most common mistake program developers make is believing that route planning is the first step in program creation. The reality is that this is almost the very last step before the program kicks off. Since the Walking School Bus program is optional for children, when we start, we do not know how many children will register for the program, much less where those children live. We also will not know how many volunteers we can successfully recruit and train, or what days of the week those volunteers are available. We need to know both of these things before we can plan the walking school bus routes. Planning the routes is more challenging than most people imagine, and it has been the very reason why many programs have struggled across the United States. There are many issues that need to be addressed that may not be readily apparent to you. Program planners need to consider A, how many routes are available based upon the number of volunteers and their availability, B, the length of the routes, C, the most efficient route, trying to pick up the majority of the children at their homes, D, the safest routes, and E, staging posts for children who live some distance from the school. You may also have to consider route timing so that every volunteer and every parent understands exactly what time each student will be picked up. You should consider talking with someone who has experience with route planning, and be sure to leave yourself plenty of time, usually a couple weeks, to plan before the program kicks off. On a side note, the Walk to School Day and Bike to School Day website houses an online tool called Map a Route. This resource provides an easy way for schools and communities to identify walking routes and create a printable map. For more information, visit www.walkbiketoschool.org. To have a large-scale impact on the negative factors that have accompanied the decline in walking to school rates, which I discussed in Module 1, will require expanding the program to multiple schools in any given community. While the primary purpose of this training is to prepare you to plan and launch a walking school bus program at a single school, I'm going to take a minute here to discuss the efficiencies of a multiple school model. While each additional school requires additional time and resources, it is a lot easier to add a school than to launch the program at your first school. For example, your procedures and documents will tend to be the same or very similar. The relationships you will have developed with the school district, community partners, and policymakers will already be in place, and good media coverage of your first program will have already built a desire at other schools. It's important not to underestimate the work involved in organizing a sustainable walking school bus program. Lots of schools have organized successful one-day walk-to-school events, and it's tempting to think that a walking school bus program is not much different. A walk-to-school day is a large undertaking, but all of the effort is focused on that one day. The planning approach for a daily walking school bus program is quite different because the program must roll out day after day after day. We recommend taking as long as a year to plan and prepare for the launch of a formal daily walking school bus program with multiple routes. During this time, you could consider how to address marketing, recruiting, and planning while refining annual walk-to-school day events. To summarize this module, we've discussed different walking school bus program models and the operational components of a walking school bus program. We emphasize the roles and responsibilities of the program coordinator and the benefits of slow and steady progress. When I come back in Module 3, I'll tell you how to use a series of Walk to School Day events to ultimately launch your walking school bus program with fanfare.